It's hot and trendy.
Oh my goodness, here we are.
We're here. We're live.
We're here. I mean, we were here, and then that super amazing song played, and then we came back.
Who made that?
Somebody who works at StreamYard, I'm thinking. I don't know. But it wasn't us. Maybe someday when we're cool enough to upgrade our StreamYard account, we can put our own song there, and we could, vibe to it while we're waiting to start. But here we are. Another episode of Showboys live coming at you from our YouTube channel. My name's Mike, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Nick. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Excited for this EP. I'm just gonna build this Lego set that I got while we do it. It's an exclusive 2010 find. Came out many years ago, and I never had one, so now I have one. It's part of my kind of like desert mummy ninja stuff I have going on. But yeah, that was a fun find. Lego store right up the street.
Was it expensive?
Nah, it was pretty comparable to what it was for an 11-year-old set that you can't buy anymore.
Nice. Love finding stuff like that. Nick, are you there? Did you break on me? Uh-oh. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties.
Hey, we're here.
He's back.
Welcome to Showboys.
Yeah, 2.0. Here we go. But yeah, we have a fun episode, hopefully, for you guys tonight. As of recording, it's 3 days before Valentine's Day. And when the audio version of this podcast comes out, it will be the day after Valentine's Day. So we thought it would be a fun idea to talk about romcoms, which actually neither of us like at all. So this should be a fun episode. I got some, inside tips from my wife who exclusively watches romcoms.
Hey, me too.
There you go. So, and we're going to rely on you guys, the viewers, listeners out there. We got some suggestions from the members of our Discord channel or server. So, quick
Join
little
now.
Discord plug. Yeah, if you haven't already, consider joining our Discord server. It's a nice little community server that all of our listeners are a part of, and it's a nice little central point for everyone to get together and talk about the things that they like to watch, things that they like to play, episodes of the podcast, and fun things like provide their suggestions or lists or what have you for our episodes, and we talk about what you guys talk about on the Discord in our episodes. And it's pretty fun way to join in on the conversation with us and participate. So we got a couple of those, a couple of Facebook suggestions. But yeah, how do you feel about romcoms, Nick? I mean, like, when you hear that word, like, what happens in your soul?
Whenever someone asks me how I feel, I think of a scene from The Departed where Leonardo DiCaprio's character is asked how he feels. And it's a pretty intense montage of violence and swear words and very deep ideas, right, on how someone in the crime world is undercover as a cop and could die at any moment, all that kind of stuff. But that's what I think about when someone asks me how I feel. Now, how I feel about rom-coms, definitely not any of that. I don't feel violent or anything like that about them. You know, this episode topic, I almost feel like I suggested it, unfortunately, and you agreed to it, so it's your fault too.
Takes two to dance, right?
Yeah, and I don't exclusively ever sit down like I'm gonna watch this rom-com. And that's why it's hard for me to think about a list of rom-coms to talk about, because I always catch them in passing and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm sitting down and I am like shamelessly watching like 30 minutes to the whole entire end of a rom-com. I'm like, oh, okay, that was cool. Do I care what the name of this movie is? No. Do I just care that I know some actors in it? Yeah. But they're okay. It's nothing. I never would buy one, put it on my shelf, and I don't commit the names to memory. But I think I do. I did discover a niche of ones that I would argue are my type of rom-coms, and even kind of rom-coms that I would tend to like. So I think I found a groove here that I can roll with.
Nice. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get into that. But
How do you feel?
Well, I believe her name was Nellie, right? From House on Haunted, or The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
I almost said House on Haunted Hill or something. Yeah, I kind of feel like her during the big reveal of that season, you know, when you find out she's the bent neck lady, I kind of feel like, you know, transforming myself into the bent neck guy whenever someone recommends watching rom-coms. Which hopefully I don't see, you know, bent neck lady or guy hanging out in this little
so cool because I'm
there.
here and you're there. That'd be cool for me to see.
Yeah, not so much for me.
No, I'd be very terrified for you. Though.
Quick throwback: if you listen to our episode on The Haunting of Hill House, when we were talking about all that spooky stuff with Jordan, like I had to sit. Now that I have a camera and you guys can see my amazing pajama pants, when we were talking about that, I was kind of like sitting like this, you know, because I had this dark void behind me that I was just waiting for the bent neck lady to come up and snatch me up, but. Yeah, general disdain would be my my typical feeling when rom-coms are brought up or, you know, forced onto me. But oftentimes, I hope Becca's not listening to this. She probably isn't, but fingers crossed.
She's asleep, isn't she?
I mean, that's what she said, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just didn't want to take the dog out because it's snowy and cold.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, once I'm forced onto the couch and I'm like 20-30 minutes into a movie, typically if I'm watching anything, I start to get invested because I'm watching it, you know, so I might as well and like try to enjoy what I'm watching. So even though they're all super predictable and every story is the same, you just insert different actors and actresses, but every story is generally the same. I find myself mildly enjoying, heavy emphasis on mild, but they're not the absolute worst, but definitely not my preferred viewing. But yeah, I'm real excited to get into this list tonight.
Well, I mean, so what you have, like, you picked out like your all-time favorite rom-com of all time, right? That's what you have to start with.
So the general idea for the episode tonight, let me get my notes up here, was to go through the favorite rom-coms, use that term very loosely. And then since they're not typically my deal, I was like, hey, why don't we find some movies that aren't classically considered rom-coms and like make an argument for why they could be rom-coms. So I have those two lists. I have a list of rom-coms that I enjoyed, and then a couple movies that I would argue could be considered rom-coms that I very much enjoyed. What did you do?
I think I have a list of movies I enjoy, and I'm going to just call those my romantic comedies.
Mhm.
And then I have Erin's list of romantic comedies that are kind of like her go-to favorites for sure. I think she has a
Nice.
lot, but she was kind of blanking out like you do when it comes.
Yeah.
You know, you're asked the question, and just couldn't think of them, but they're out there. Like they're out there.
Yeah, so that was something we were talking about right before we went live is anytime for any topic, not just tonight's topic, but whenever I go to put together my notes for the shows or whatever, like my brain is just like the Sahara Desert when it comes to like thinking of movies or shows that I enjoy. I have no idea why. Maybe it's because like I'm actually trying to think of something.
You go smooth brain instantly. Just
Big smooth, like race car tire smooth. Like,
hasn't seen the pit stop in a while. Just really needs
yes.
to. Yeah.
Um,
Your poor brain.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny, but yeah, I also came up. So first off, if you'll notice here to my left, I
Ooh,
have
Funko plug.
it's kind of hard to see because my super wide lens camera apparently makes everything seem like it's 500 feet away. But you know, I picked out some of my pops here that you know either have a romantic interest or you know could or should. Well, I mean, I think they all do actually. So here at the bottom, I have Aquaman and Mara. That's pretty obvious. They have a thing. Then I have up here Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor.
Mm.
And then last but not least, up here on the very tippy top, I have Jyn Urso and Cassian Andor.
Yes.
So they're joining me tonight as we talk about romantic comedies, though none of those movies are considered comedies.
Wrong. I am totally gonna say Rogue One is a romantic comedy.
I don't.
K2SO is hilarious, and that was
maybe
what he's the funniest droid ever.
he is pretty funny, but like that movie's not very funny.
Yeah, it is.
I do have two Lando Funko Pops over here, and I wish that I had the droid from Solo.
Yeah,
I don't think they have a pop for that droid. I could be mistaken, but that would join my romantic interest.
good old L3.
Yeah.
L33T.
But you bring up a good point here. So I also went on the Romcom wiki page and got the definition. Okay.
Okay. I think I need that because
yeah,
I'm really gonna mess it up tonight.
So rom-com is a subgenre of comedy and a slice of life fiction focusing on lighthearted, humorous plot lines centered on romantic ideas such as how true love is able to surmount most obstacles. And then they usually tend to have these subplots or elements within the movie. Being extreme circumstances. So think of something like the movie Warm Bodies or Zack and Miri Make a Porno, where the love interests would meet in some sort of extreme circumstance that is not an everyday type thing. Flipping conventions. So this would be like the movie ending with the love interests not actually getting together or something like that, subverting your expectations.
Those are the good ones.
Yes. Reversing gender roles. So a movie like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where the male lead is like hyper in touch with his emotions, which typically is not something you see in rom-coms from the male lead. They're typically like, we'll get into the stereotypes and whatnot, but and then the other one is having serious elements in it. So a movie like Silver Linings Playbook, where they take a crack at showing how trying to be in a relationship with mental illness, so it's kind of like a rom-com dram.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one's very dramatic.
A rom dramedy. I don't know how you would mix those three, but
romantic dramedy. Yeah, you almost had it.
Yeah, so the rom-coms that include some of those elements are the ones that I actually like. Not all of them include those elements. The good ones do.
I was gonna say, I was like, I feel like they don't. That doesn't sound half bad. That's a good definition of it. I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to explain it. What a good one is.
Yeah. So some of the reasons why I detest rom-coms are, first off, there's just way too many. It's like a dime a dozen. There's entire channels, Hallmark, Lifetime, like, and because of this, it leads to a lot of repetition, a lot of predictability, because every movie tends to be the same. Like we were talking about, you just insert a different city and insert different actor and actress, but the story is still the same. Which you can argue with like superhero movies are like pretty much becoming the new rom-coms, if you will.
Bigger budgets.
Yes, a lot cooler fight and special effects, but you could do the same thing. Just replace superhero A with superhero B, and you pretty much rinse and repeat. But they're extremely predictable, and they most of the time include super simple stereotypes of women and men and relationships and things like that. And then also, if you go a little further, like it kind of sets an unrealistic expectation for relationships, and a lot of times on men in relationships. But I think that's kind of not exclusive to the romantic comedies, but like you start getting into just romantic dramas or romantic stories in general. You just set such unrealistic expectations for how people really are, and I don't know. That's always something that drives me nuts. But yeah, what do you think about all that stuff? Do you have anything to add there?
No, that helps. I think that helps me frame what a good rom-com is, and I would say the ones that I enjoy definitely have some, or if not most of those, as elements that make them good. I definitely like the subverted expectations. Obviously, your favorite movie of all time does exactly that, all the way to the end. I would say, I think I like the gender role reversals. Like those are always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that shines through on a handful of my picks here, and that helps a lot. I'm glad you did that.
Nice. So let's get into it. Why don't you want to like trade back and forth? Like you go first with one, then I'll say one, and until we run out, or do you want to go through your list and I'll go through my list? Or
I'll take the first one here, and I'm actually gonna grab one of Aaron's picks, because I think this definitely fits the extraordinary circumstance, which is pretty cool. So, The Wedding Planner, nice early J-Lo McConaughey cut, but she's a wedding planner, and she was briefly explaining it. He saves her like in traffic or in the street or whatever, and there's an instant connection, and then time goes by and it turns out she has a new client, and it's him and his to-be wife, right? So there's an extraordinary circumstance where they had met, ran into each other, had a connection, and then turns out she's planning his wedding. So I mean, I think the one of the probably drawbacks that a lot of these movies have is unrealistic, right? Or at least very extraordinary circumstances. And I think one of the points you read off there is just, what was it, real fiction or something about fiction?
Extreme circumstances, flipping conventions, reversing gender roles, and or serious elements.
Okay. Yeah, but I think that's a drawback, just because these are very specific scenarios that these movies are set up on, right? So for them to ever play out in real life is few and far between. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a drawback they have, right? Someone's sitting there watching and be like, well, of course they run into each other on the street, and of course she's the wedding planner and he's getting married. It's just like a lot of circumstance the whole time with these movies. A lot of coincidence, or it just so happens to be kind of thing.
Right. I mean, that's another one of the, tropes.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, wow, saw that coming a mile away.
Right.
But I mean, hey, if we're going to be fair, I would say every genre of movie has those tropes that they really lean into.
And I think when I, the movies that I see, the romantic comedies that I see Erin watching like over and over, or like even like once a year, like I see her watch them frequently. She isn't, obviously she's seen them, but she isn't also looking to be like subverted or surprised or dun dun dun, what's going to happen. It's more like the build up to that moment when they kiss or they're together, right? Through all the ups and downs. It's even like the Friends thing, right? Because everyone knows how Friends ends, but it's that entire build up. And they go through all those silly hoops of them being together, not together, the whole plane thing. Like we all know how it ends.
Yeah.
But
oh man.
It's that build up, and then finally when it happens every single time, she's like, she's like dying.
I will say that like they definitely make you feel good, right? They give you the warm and fuzzies. Every so often you have to have, that perfect storybook ending. And I mean, they make you feel good because it works out, right? The guy or gal gets the guy or gal, right, at the end of the day that they so love. And good stories are a good thing. So I like it when stuff works out sometimes, which my wife would be shocked to hear me say that because one of my gripes is always like, that is so unrealistic. That would never happen. Like 9 times out of 10, like the perfect storybook ending is not what happens.
And I feel like these happen, and I like these ones, so I could not tell you a single one where this happens, but I know they're out there. They have to be. But because I've seen them, but I don't know what they are. But when it's a little bit that the subversion of your expectation where that doesn't quite happen, where maybe instead they don't get together because they realize something. It was like a life learning experience where they're like, that didn't really matter. Us, being together wasn't the like solution or the ultimate goal here. It was everything that was learned along the way. And I feel like those ones are good, whichever ones those are.
Yeah. Those still at the end of the day have like a feel good story to it.
Right.
Because there's that personal growth, right? Which is cool. But your plane scene made me think of, I haven't had a Mr. Robot comment in a while. So like,
here we go.
Do you remember the scene with Dom and I can't remember the FBI agent?
Was it a train or was it an airport? Yeah.
Yeah. So Darlene, Dom was the FBI agent. Darlene and Dom, right? Yeah. Darlene is on the airplane getting ready to leave and Dom isn't there. And Darlene's like, I can't do this. So she gets off the plane and she's like having a panic attack in the bathroom. And while that's happening, Dom runs onto the plane and Darlene has this moment in the bathroom with a complete stranger where she has that like that personal growth arc where she's like, you know what? I don't need to be with somebody to be happy. Like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to get on the plane and go to, I forget exactly where they were going, but and so she just leaves, right? She doesn't get on the plane, but Dom doesn't know that, and she gets on the plane, and the plane takes off. So like, you hear they set us up for that stereotypical plane moment where they would like cross paths or something, or like both be on the plane together, or both not go together. But instead, they just traded places, and instead of Darlene being on the plane and flying away, it was Dom. And It's just one of the million reasons I love that show. But that is neither a romantic show nor a comedy. But it just made me think of that.
I mean, yeah, no, that's totally true. No, that was a really good sequence, and obviously that personal growth thing was like really cool. Then, like once that kind of got past that, I'm like, yes, checkbox. Now they can just get together and be together. That would have been. I would have liked to see that.
Yeah, because as much as you love to see that growth from Darlene, at the same time, it's like I kind of wanted her to end up with Dom because they were good for each other.
Right. Exactly.
But that did happen.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, by the way. After
Sorry.
we got done.
I mean, so much goes on in that show. That's like that. That's such a great thing that happened in that show, but it is entirely minor.
That's like a C or a D plot line.
Yeah, like pay no mind. You'll forget about it. Go watch Mr. Robot.
I haven't had a Mr. Robot reference in a while.
Should we just break down each season?
Oh, dude, we should just go back and do a companion series for every episode, even though it's already out and no longer.
Can we just play it? Can we just play an episode and do, live?
Mr. Robot watch party?
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys want to see that, I'm totally down for that. I will do that because I've seen that show way too many times. So I don't care if I watch it with other people and talk like while it's on.
That would take so long.
Oh God, I would love it so much. So much. But yeah, I think it's a good first pick, Yeah. I actually did put a favorite, and this is actually is one of my favorite movies, and I picked The Princess Bride. It's just a classic. So
I love that movie.
It holds up. I just watched it like a year or two ago. Waiting for the right time to introduce it to our oldest child, who will be 6. Not sure if she'd quite get it yet at this point, but I mean, the movie's hysterical. It's got a great love story, and I mean, it's a classic. I feel like I don't even have to really talk about it because it's The Princess Bride.
I don't know if I've seen it. Dude,
you need to watch it. It's so good.
Mail me the movie and I'll watch it.
Mail it to you?
Okay. Yeah.
I do own it actually, so I probably could do that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of movies we got to trade because we've been talking about you're gonna let me borrow the 7-hour-long Lord of the Rings movie cuts and
4 pop.
There you go, dude. I'll totally. Hey, that'll help prepare me for the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, Princess Bride on the top of my list.
Okay.
No explanation really needed. I mean, it's just a pop culture classic, and there's so many just everyday pop culture references that came from that movie. And one of my favorite things about being married to Becca is she, like we've talked about on the show before, she missed out on a lot of these things in her childhood. So, for example, I made her watch the Friday movie, which she had never seen. And when the Bye Felicia line came up, she's like, that's where that's from. And I'm like, yes. Welcome to the 20th or
welcome to the rest of pop culture.
Yeah, exactly. But this is another one of those movies. Like you got the Inconceivable, you got the Prepare to Die, you've got the, I mean, there's so many. But yeah, look at this. The Scene Snob's coming. What's going on, bro? Thanks for joining us. Look at these 2 sexy gents right here. I mean, hey, we do what we can, but definitely Nick is carrying the weight around here in that department.
I won't disagree.
Oh boy. Actually, could you consider our podcast a rom-com?
Yeah, actually, some of my picks will make an argument for that. We'll support that theory there.
Nice. So I'll go for my second one and then I'll go back to you. But after The Princess Bride, they're kind of there is no order here. So, but next on my list, I have actually Zach and Miri Make a Porno. That movie was hysterical. Seth Rogen and company. Yeah, talk about subverting your expectations. They find love while they make a porno together. Not like Zach and Miri aren't making the porno, but they're like they aren't the stars of the production here.
They found love making porn.
Yes, they actually were like the directors of porn. That I forget why they were making it, but they were, and they fell in love, and who would have thought? And it was just a hysterical movie. Did you ever see that one?
Yes. That was what came out in 2011. That sounds like a college watch for sure.
Yeah. Mick, how dare you talk about yourself like that? He says, I am definitely carrying weight.
I didn't say that.
Then he says, this means war is a guilty pleasure of mine. I can't say that I have seen that as, like we said at the top of the episode, this is my least favorite genre of movie. So I try to avoid it at all costs. So there's probably a lot that people might chime in with that I probably have not seen. And I know that's like hard for some movie fans to be able to deal with, but rom-coms are hard for me to deal with.
You just can't deal with it. You just can't. I just can't.
Yeah, can't even, bro. But yeah, so what's next up on your list?
So I'm just gonna go off the rails here a little bit, and I'm gonna say Pineapple Express. Continue the Seth Rogen train. So that's a bromantic comedy, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm cool with the bromcoms.
Yeah, because I mean, you have two likely people in some sense, but unlikely in a lot of others, and you know they have a singular purpose at the beginning of their relationship, strictly business, and they become like best friends and meet a bunch of friends on the way, and they bro it out, and extraordinary circumstances all over that movie.
Yes.
So, and I started thinking about it, I'm like, I think I like Seth Rogen movies as rom-coms. Like those are my kind of, because they all have a little bit element of some sort of romance or bromance to them, and they're funny, right? Yeah. If you can get over, I know some people that just do not like him, and mostly because of his laugh, which is
understandable.
It sticks.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think also for me, these movies replace romantic comedies, and that kind of, when I am in the mood to watch that, when someone is in the mood to watch a romantic comedy, I'm probably in the mood to watch one of these movies.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So,
Mick here, my first movie was a rom-com I produced and wrote and is hidden away forever.
Oh, can we
need to uncover
live
that
stream
gem.
it? Can we live stream it?
We've been talking about doing watch parties. That sounds like the perfect candidate.
Yes.
Was that Mick? Was that your dinosaur movie you were telling Nick and I about when you were a wee lad? A dinosaur rom-com. That would be great. But no, I like the bromcoms. I actually had one that I wanted to argue for too, and that would be Superbad.
Yes,
another one of my favorite movies. But Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, their relationship in that movie was absolutely adorable. Right. One of my favorite scenes of any movie is like the sleepover when they're laying, in the basement, like all drunk, and they're like in their sleeping bags, and he's like, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go on the rooftops and scream, I love my best friend, Seth or Evan. I forget which one. But yeah, that is the bromcom of all bromcoms, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is just going to go off on the rails now. See, now we know them all, because like 21 Jump Street, neither of them, like, they're basically high school opposites, and they turn out to be the best of bros through their extraordinary circumstances.
Dude. 21 Jump Street was hilarious.
Yeah.
Best rom-com ever is Diner. Dinner? Diner. I can't read. So,
2 N's for dinner, man.
There you go. See, that's why I have Nick here. Yeah, again, Mick's probably never going to display my comments on his show streams or invite me on his channel because every movie he talks about is the one that I've never seen.
Well, we need to make these as a list. We need to watch them.
That's true.
If Mick says they're good, they got to be good.
I mean, he is the scene snob.
Yeah,
I trust him. But yeah, going in the more traditional sense.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple Seth Rogen movies on here that I'll just knock out. 40-Year-Old Virgin, pretty funny. Knocked Up was a pretty good one. Was he a part of Trainwreck with Amy Schumer? I mean, Bill Hader was in it, and he kind of like rolls with the Seth Rogen crew. I don't know if he like was a writer, producer, or director in that movie. I probably should have looked it up, but I mean, Trainwreck was pretty good outside of Amy Schumer, whom I cannot stand. I
Wasn't she the main character?
Yes. I just don't. I just can't. Nothing. It's like not a personal thing. Just I don't find her funny.
Right. It happens.
That movie is pretty funny after I say that, and she's the main character in it. But
she's not funny. I don't like her. But that movie she starred in, hilarious.
Yeah, pretty good. And then because I like the direction we're going with the movies that we can argue for rom-com, so I'm just going to rattle off my traditional rom-com list because I don't really have too much to like say about them. So like Hitch was all right, Will Smith and Kevin James. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist was pretty good. Michael Cera and Kat Denning, I believe. Forgetting Sarah Marshall was hilarious. 40-Year-Old Virgin, Trainwreck, Knocked Up, Juno. Michael Cera and Jonah Hill. I mean, Jonah Hill's not in that movie, but you get either of those two guys in a movie, I probably will like it. Speaking of, you guys love Seth Rogen. I don't dislike him, but I would say love. Actually, no.
Every movie you just said
I
has
can go
to do with Seth Rogen.
I know, but that was just a coincidence. But now that I think about it, I actually do love Seth Rogen because he was a part of Preacher, which I loved that show, and he's part of The Boys, and I love that show. And I mean, looking back on some of his old movie stuff, like I like him. I can't deny this fact anymore. I've been a Seth Rogen denier for a long time, and now thanks to my friend Mick from the Scene Snobs,
he brought it out.
Yeah, I mean, like kind of like what we were talking about earlier. This is our that personal growth moment in our bromcom.
Well, yeah. See, so yeah, our podcast is a romantic comedy.
Yeah, and Mick plays a great character in our bromcom, and without him, I wouldn't have had this moment of personal growth where I realized that I actually do love Seth Rogen.
He was the random guy in the bathroom that you had an interaction with that made you realize.
Mick or Seth Rogen?
Mick.
I like it. Oh man, that's great. So Juno, and then I brought up Silver Linings Playbook. The rom dramedy, that was a great movie. I loved their take on trying to be in a relationship with mental illness, and it was very powerful, very touching. I think I probably cried at one point. Had funny moments. Bradley Cooper was great. The Big Sick, I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's kind of somewhat recent, but on a few of the lists I was looking up, while I was trying to find movies that I've seen and like, this actually on most of them was in the top 5, which was pretty crazy.
Damn.
But it's a good movie. It's the story of Kumail Nanjiani. Do you know him at all? Does that name ring a bell?
No.
He's a stand-up comedian. He was the host of a podcast called The Indoor Kids, which I actually used to listen to a ton. They talked about video games and stuff. He's an actor. He's been in handful of sitcoms here and there. He's in Silicon Valley. Actually, you probably would know him. He has a small role in Community.
Well, I watched a lot of Silicon Valley.
Okay, I have not really seen Silicon Valley, but
you should watch it.
I have HBO now, so I can.
You should watch it.
I will definitely add it to the list. He's in Community, though. He has a small role as one of the janitors. Did you see?
Yeah.
How far along are you in that show? Have you?
I have like
it up yet?
5 episodes left of the last season.
Okay. Have you seen the final paintball?
I don't think so.
Episode. Okay. Well, he's a big part in that episode. So when you see him, you'll be like, "Oh, that's the guy from The Big Sick." But he stars in the movie, and the movie's about the story of him and his wife, their relationship, how they met, and how they ended up getting married and all that stuff. And it's actually a very interesting, kind of sad and touching story. So I recommend it. It's pretty funny too. And then my last one is Warm Bodies, which I don't know. Have you ever heard of that one?
It came up on a lot of lists, and I've heard of it. I can't say I've seen it. It sounds gross.
It's pretty. It
sounds like awesome. A serial killer movie, really.
The name, well, if it was a serial killer movie, it would be Cold Bodies, right? Because they're dead.
Yeah, after they're dead, but you have to have something alive to kill.
But this one, it totally falls under the extreme circumstances condition that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie takes place during or after, in the midst of a zombie apocalypse, and the main character is a zombie who falls in love with a girl, and their relation. I'm giving you a very short version of the movie. Through their relationship and him like trying to convey his feelings for this girl, it like slowly turns him back into a human.
That sounds so dumb.
It sounds dumb, but it's actually really good.
I hate zombies.
Dude,
and I hate rom-coms.
It's such a good movie.
No.
And see, the scene snob agrees with me. Warm Bodies is so good.
Oh my god.
It's so good. Just watch it. But I will say, I'll caveat it with this. The last time I suggested a rom-com. Hey, that's actually a zomcom.
Jeez.
Dude, I'm just like whipping out all these amazing rom-com genres in my head. The last time I recommended a zombie movie to a friend, though, was Anna and the Apocalypse around Christmas time to my neighbor, who like our friendship was just, kind of like getting off the ground. We were,
just like looking over the fence still.
Yeah. Having great text exchanges. They came over to the house a couple of times. We went to their house. We were watching Browns games together on Sundays.
Man.
And, I thought we were at the point where we could take it to the next level, right? Where I could be like, that I like to watch like movies and shows, and you are starting to understand that I like to watch weird movies and shows. So I went out on a limb and I was like, hey, I'm a little nervous to do this because I feel like our relationship is really starting to bloom. But you should really watch this movie, Anna and the Apocalypse. It's great. And then he watched it and he was like, this is the weirdest movie, and I'm not sure that I think it's good. And that was like really funny because he was trying so hard to nicely tell me that.
Was this in text or in person?
Oh no, it was totally in text.
Okay.
It was hilarious. So I've like since apologized. I mean, I love that movie, but I've apologized profusely. I'm like, sorry, Garrett, if you're listening.
You're sorry.
I humbly apologize, and I hope that you are gracious and accept it. And when I recommend movies or shows in the future, that you still give them a chance. But yeah, Warm Bodies, you should definitely do it. It's good. And since you're such a fan of the zomcoms, Mick suggests a movie called Eat Brains Love.
Mm.
Sounds great. I actually will have to check that out myself because I probably would love it because zombies are
That sounds
apparently right up there with Seth Rogen for me. So,
zombie Seth Rogen movie.
dude, he did have a movie where he basically was Pickle Rick, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of that. But yeah, he like fell in a pickle vat or something, and like it preserved his body. And he woke up like 100 years later. Oh, Pickle Rogan.
I think we need to have someone on the podcast that can like talk us out of liking Seth Rogen.
I know.
We need to hear the argument for why Seth Rogen sucks.
But like I thought that movie was so dumb, but me explaining it to you right there actually makes me want to watch it because I'm Pickle Rick. Anyways, but yeah, so that's like my traditional list of rom-coms.
That was your traditional. No,
Most of them are traditional
Yeah,
until you
yeah,
get to Warm Bodies. Then it kind of, even though Warm Bodies was on a few of those lists I was
Yeah.
looking at today. So
I saw it pop up.
what about yours? Because I want to get to the unconventional, the interesting, part of this conversation.
Yeah, so I would say the slew of movies that came out in the past 10 years where it's like either Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler or the both of them together. So like just go with it. I like that kind of crap.
Yeah.
They're funny, great circumstances. And they're almost, the ones that are kind of built on some sort of kind of illusion, right? Obviously, he's like, hey, pretend to be my wife. And we're going to go on vacation with my kids. Or, no, those were her kids. And all that stuff. So, like, that was good. And then I don't think it's a romantic comedy, but I'm going to throw it in there. But, like, We're the Millers.
Oh, that movie's great.
Yeah, great movie. It's hilarious. Little bit of romantic stuff in it, but like it's just like four people that just do not belong together, and through it they kind of become a family, and
Yeah,
that's super cool.
I think that was the birthplace of the wait, you get paid for this meme.
Yes, yep, that would be it. The origin of a meme.
We should have an episode where we talk about movies that had the most and or best memes come out of it.
So basically, we're just kind of brainstorming different episode content right now for this whole entire. Just trying to dance around this rom-com stuff. Let's see here. Chasing Amy, right? I'm pretty sure that is an official rom-com.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Nice deep cut. I feel like not everyone has seen that, right? I feel like only people. I don't know. I just feel like more people should have seen that than do. Because I say Chasing Amy and they're like, huh? I'm like, never mind. You wouldn't get it. Then Aaron threw a few more for me that, that worked. Like 51st Dates. I like that movie.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring that up when you said Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and that's another one of those good Adam Sandler ones. That one's cool to me just because great characters. It has that, like, when that movie come out, it has like a really good, not new, like film grain about it. Because it just seems like it's like shot in very basic sets, not terribly high budget. It just seems like really down to earth to me.
That's a pretty cool concept for a movie too. I mean,
right. Yeah, it's totally different. And like her family, like her brother and dad are hilarious characters. And then, it's just Adam Sandler trying to every day go through the routine, and it's good growth one there. So yeah, I really like that one. She likes Sweet Home Alabama. I don't know if it's her favorite, but she likes herself some Reese Witherspoon. Father of the Bride.
Becca loves that one.
Pretty sure I've seen her watch that. Monster-in-Law, J-Lo, another J-Lo pick.
Almost like that.
I said Wedding Planner. And then out of my list. That's like about it. And the rest are just ones I'm going to argue for and Seth Rogen movies.
Yeah. So Mick here, I think he's still talking about Eat Brains Love, but he says a zomcom or a zombie rom-com road trip movie. Yeah. So now I'm just gonna call them zomcoms and bromcoms.
Bromcoms, zomcoms.
The rom dramedies. We're just making up all kinds of subgenres of rom-coms tonight.
You're like you're the pitch meeting. You're the executive producer guy. And you're just like, let's just make it a rom-com.
Yeah. Oh man. I feel like we should have just had Becca and Aaron do this episode.
Yeah, because I told Aaron, I was like, you just want to do it for me? She's like, is Becca doing it? I'm like, no, I think that's the next one. But
a little tease for next week.
But yeah, no, I was trying to convince Aaron to just stand in for me on this one.
That definitely would have been much better.
She sat there and gave me like great wedding planner notes, and I'm like, you just need to like do this. Like,
right.
She was hitting all the points. She was like iconic actors in their early years. And she hit the whole like circumstance thing. They meet in the street, and then she went through it. I'm like, wow. I mean, you want a job?
Yeah, I feel like Becca would have crushed this.
Show gals.
Hey, I'm trying to make it happen, but ball's in her court. She's not having it.
Whatever.
But yeah, so I'm excited to get into these movies that we're going to argue for. I'll let you go first because I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
So this one's actually a series because we are the show boys.
That's true. I'm for it.
We've talked about quite a bit recently. So Community, it's funny. Dude, there's romantic arcs in there, and those are some of my favorite romantic arcs. Jeff, especially like the first couple seasons with Jeff and basically the two girls he's romantically involved with. That's great stuff right there.
I always get creeped out about Jeff and Allison, and it's not Allison.
Allison Brie is the actor.
What is her name?
Annie.
There you go. Yeah, that just creeps me out because he's like in the show. I'm guessing probably 15 years older than her or something.
Yeah. Well, they think he's like close to 30, and it turns out he's like closer to 40.
Maybe like 20 years older.
But I like that disparity just because that really happens, especially in like a community college too, where there's like, they have who's the one guy, the really old guy that's always running around. Yeah, no, not Pierce.
Oh no! Dang it! What's his name?
Jeff always told him to shut up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Leonard.
Yeah. Shut up, Leonard.
He's got his like chip review YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. We know someone like that.
We do. Like, you guys do?
No, we do. Yeah. YouTube channel. No, they're not reviews, but they're, all about the boats and this. You know what I'm talking about?
What's the deal?
Yeah. Was it a lawn? No, was it a lawnmower? What was that?
It was like a Roomba lawnmower.
Yeah. And left a review for it. And that reminded me of Leonard.
Yes. I can get behind that, but I don't want to talk too much about Community because I feel like that's going to be a big hitter on our episode next week.
Oh, for sure.
But there definitely are a lot of really good. I mean, all like everything in that show is really good. But
yeah,
I mean, you got Jeff and Annie, like you're talking about. You got Jeff and Britta, and then you got
no spoilers.
Troy.
Yeah, right. That's another bro.
The biggest romance.
Yeah. No, but as I was watching that show, like obviously everything else that goes on is good, but some of the most intriguing arcs, right? The longer arcs that played out over multiple episodes and seasons were the different like sub romantic character development arcs.
Yeah.
I enjoy those a lot in that show. They're well done. They don't divert from what the show is, but they drive, certain episodes forward quite a bit. So
Yeah, for sure. I can get behind that. My first one that I'd like to argue for was actually one that was also brought up by one of our awesome Discord members / new addition to the Showboys team, Bianca,
Squad.
BB8, and that is Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
I don't know why I keep doing like the De Niro face, but but no, Shaun of the Dead, one of my favorite movies. Definitely romantic in nature, and definitely very funny. And it's funny, the day that she actually threw that in the Discord channel, we were riding home from I don't remember what, but we went to Sam's Club to get groceries, because that's what families in the suburbs do on Saturday afternoons. And we got the girls slushies while we were there, and Peyton got a red one, and she like spilled some on her, and Becca turns around, she's like, "You have red on you." And I was like, classic. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, never mind, I'm just having like an Abed moment here. Just
a moment. Cool.
Yeah. And then B puts that up in the Discord, and I was like, "That's hilarious," because that's the second time this movie's come up today. Yeah. If all rom-coms were like Shaun of the Dead, oh my gosh, it's another. It's a zom-com, another one.
They're out there apparently.
And just put Seth Rogen,
digging up genres left and right.
Seth Rogen and/or zombies in your rom-com, and I'm all for it.
How many are they going to make? He'll make like 3 in a row if he hears this podcast.
Yes, do it. Seth Rogen, if you're listening, come on, be a guest. You can, come on the show, boys, pitch your next rom-com, and just take our money right away. But yeah, what's your next pick?
I mean, this might legit be one, but like Meet the Fockers.
Yeah, I don't think you have to really argue that one.
Yeah, but I don't think it falls into the rom-com bucket just because like such a wide variety of people liked it. Like my dad liked that movie. And I think because it has speaking of De Niro,
I know.
it's got, the De Niro effect. And, I think a lot, the best parts of that movie were outside of the romantic kind of arc there. They were already getting married, so there wasn't a lot to explore there. So, it's there, but I enjoy that movie, and that's what I would prefer to watch. I already said Pineapple Express. I might have exhausted my list.
Oh, wow, that's quick.
Well, except the Neighbors for Seth Rogen. But it wasn't. It's not the romance, between him and his wife. It is the relationship that fosters between Zac Efron. Yep. Yeah.
That movie is really good. Oh my gosh. I feel like Mick is just no longer going to respect anything that we say ever again.
He's just
because we keep talking about how many Seth Rogen movies we like.
But it's not because of Seth Rogen. It's for like all these other reasons.
Yeah. That's hilarious. He's immediately regretting ever coming on our show.
Yeah.
So I kind of already talked about Superbad. And then my next most obvious pick, which I've talked about extensively on this show, and we've actually had an entire episode dedicated to this movie, and that is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which might be the greatest romantic comedy of all time.
I think it actually shows up on lists.
Does it? I didn't see it on any I looked at today, which kind of makes me sad, but Also, I don't ever expect to see this movie on lists because it was criminally underrated and overlooked.
I think it's gaining traction here in this decade. I think before long, people will realize how great it is and catch up with your wokeness.
Yeah, it definitely has an occult following for sure. But I mean, this movie, Extreme Circumstance, I mean, it checks all the boxes. It subverts your expectations. It kind of swaps the gender roles where, Scott is kind of the
sensible,
lovesick, emotional character in the entire movie. And then, it's got the serious elements. I mean, what's more serious than having to fight for your life for the woman that you love,
fight all her ex-boyfriends,
and even fighting yourself?
Oh yeah, your evil self, the one
That's right.
that holds you back from
Your
finding true
nega
love.
self, some might say.
Yeah. Deep.
But no, I mean, it's just a brilliant movie. It's one of my favorites, and I will try to find a way to squeeze it into any list or genre that we talk about, just so I have a few minutes to bring it up again and hopefully make other people watch it.
Surprised you didn't put it on our top 5 franchises of all time, because it has a game. I guess it can qualify as a franchise.
And it's based off graphic novels, which there were multiples of. So I know. I'm sorry I failed you. But then I have Anna and the Apocalypse, which we briefly mentioned. But here we are again. This hits a lot of different levels. It's like a Christmas movie. It's not like it is a Christmas movie. It has some levels of, romance, and it kind of subverts your expectations here, where like it's got the typical like guy and girl are best friends, but the guy like actually really loves the girl, and the girl kind of like he's friend zoned, that whole trope.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you plan on watching. You probably are never going to watch this movie, correct?
Well, it's a Christmas zombie musical.
Yes. I told you. It hits a lot of levels, okay? And also
a British Christmas zombie musical.
It probably wasn't the best first movie to recommend to a new friend, Again, Garrett, I apologize.
It has a soundtrack.
I should have built up my, reputation of recommendations before I threw this at you. This was a poor first choice. But it's actually a great movie. But basically, you get to the middle part of the movie, and the guy friend and the main character Anna, you start to maybe sense that Anna might be like growing to start to come out of the friend zone and like start to realize that she kind of loves this guy character, which I forget his name, which I apologize for. But then he gets eaten by zombies, so
chomp.
They can't get together, but I would argue there's a level of rom-com in there. It's a good movie. I recommend it. You should definitely watch it, especially around Christmas time when you're getting that hankering for watching a musical.
Why? No, did we talk about during our Christmas episodes?
Yeah, well, it was brought up.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the other thing, is I didn't tell him what it was about. I was just like, hey, if you're looking for a Christmas movie to watch,
oh my god, dude.
I was like, it's not really like a family Christmas movie, but if you need to watch a Christmas movie, like check this one out. I love it. And he didn't love it. Because he just texted me, he's like, this is a musical? And I was like, oh. I was like, yeah, I didn't really want I like to not tell you anything about movies or shows.
Yeah, I guess that's always funny when you stumble into a musical. It's you don't know it is. You don't like that's what happened to you with Scott Pilgrim, right? You went to the movie theater and didn't know what you're about to watch.
Yes.
But I always feel like far too many times I start watching something, and I'm like, I did not have any idea that they would start singing in this.
Yeah. I think this was probably my fault, but like that happened when we went and saw Into the Woods. I totally didn't realize that that was going to be a musical, and then they started singing, and I was like, oh, this is nice. I should have expected it. It's a Disney movie,
nice.
right? I mean, but yeah, Anne and the Apocalypse, pretty good. And then lastly, this actually was brought up to me today by my friend Garrett, who we've talked about a few times. He threw this one at me, and it was actually great. Deadpool 2 is actually a rom-com. And here's why. So if you remember, the entire plot of Deadpool 2 is Deadpool trying to kill himself so he can be reunited with his dead girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole time he's trying to get to her by killing himself. And nothing screams romance more than laying down your own life for the one that you love. And it's also hysterical because it's a Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, I it's a rom-com.
Yeah.
Fight me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that pretty much wraps up the ones I have to argue for. Do you have any other ones, or?
I don't. No.
Nice. Well, I guess that takes us to our listener picks. We're at that point already.
They got the good ones.
They actually have good ones, unlike us. But here we go. So, sticking with the Garrett theme, his list was The Proposal, which is his favorite. He also had Princess Bride, Wedding Crashers, Hot Rod, which I haven't seen Hot Rod in a while, so I would have to hear the argument, for that being a romantic comedy, or maybe it just flat out is, and I'm not remembering. I do remember it's a hysterical movie though. He has Wall-E. It's a good one.
Yes, I love Wall-E.
Some droid love. It's adorable. And then Up.
Fair. Wait, so if Wall-E is a romantic comedy, does that mean Star Wars gets to be a romantic comedy?
I mean, Wall-E's kind of funny though. Not all of Star Wars is funny.
But R2-D2 is funny.
He is pretty funny.
And you think C-3PO is funny?
I do, in a weird way, yes.
See?
I guess. I mean, you could make an argument for it, because I mean, Silver Linings Playbook's not. It's more dramatic than comedic.
Yeah, it's a space opera that has comedic elements via droids. Yeah. Droids it's actually funny. Droids are the funniest things in those movies. All the actual sentient beings kind of suck when it comes to comedy.
Yes.
Because like even episode 3, the freaking battle droids are funny for no reason. Like they had upgraded programming by that movie and they could talk.
Roger.
Yeah.
Oh god, if I ever hear Roger again after watching Clone Wars in like 2 weeks.
I mean, you know who says Roger all the time? Matt Rogers.
Those of you listening to the audio version,
I hear it all the time.
See my just extreme look.
I hear it all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. It's great.
He would say that.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Matt Rogers, if you're listening? Yeah, Jordan, our good friend of show, he only had one, and it was Holiday, which I think he talked about briefly on our Christmas episode he was on. My wife, Becca, the famous Instagram influencer, she said all of them, which is definitely the cheap way out, and also gross.
That's a Becca answer if I ever heard one.
Yeah.
All of them? That's
Yeah.
terrible. That's so bad.
But it's true because she
Right.
does love all of them.
Well, no,
Like
right.
every single one.
I think that's the worst part about that because I don't doubt that she just would watch any single one of them and be
Oh,
completely okay with it.
dude, she does. And like, so for those of you who are not privy to Mike Courtney's personal life, my wife and I run a furniture refurbishment slash restoration business, which really is Becca does everything, and I just make sure that we pay our sales tax. But in the wintertime, like we don't have a dedicated space for this. We do this all out of our house or whatever, mainly our garage. But in the wintertime, it's too cold to paint and stain and seal and wax and all that stuff. So she brings pieces into the house and does it like in the living room or in our, dining room or whatever. And when she does that, it's just like she finds the most like ridiculously dumb rom-coms on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and I'm like going upstairs, filling up my cup of water while I'm working or something, and she's just got some like ridiculous like C tier Netflix original.
I bet
like
I bet
Anna
Hulu
Kendrick or
has
whatever.
some I bet Hulu has some really bad rom-coms just like deep cut on there.
Oh, I bet. It's especially bad during Christmas time
Ugh.
because I'll just go up there and it's just like every Christmas movie you could think of, she's found on Netflix, like the Netflix original, like terrible Christmas movies. But she's not lying. I mean, that's 100% fact for Becca. She loves all of them and
All of them.
watches as many as she can. That wraps up like our social media submissions there, and then we
The
had
Outsiders.
the Outsiders, which could easily become insiders by
Join our
joining
Discord
our
today.
Discord. Yeah, it's awesome. It's popping. It's growing. We've had a lot of cool conversations, and yeah, it's just fun to be able to interact with you guys, and it's fun to hear things that you guys are watching or playing because it gives us things to add to our backlogs, which unfortunately never seem to stop growing. Well, I guess it's not really unfortunate. It's kind of a good problem to have. But let's get to our Discord submissions. So like we talked about earlier, Bianca, she said Shaun of the Dead, which I 100% agree with. We had old trash can Mike, excuse me. He put The Fifth Element, which at first I made a bad example in my post on the Discord where I used Lord of the Rings as an example because we got the bromance between Sam and Frodo, but it's not like it's not a funny movie, right? So I feel like I misled Mr. Trash Can there because Fifth Element, I mean, it has a few funny parts here and there, but like
That's all you need.
Overall, it's not a very like funny movie, but I could see the rom part, which reminds me, I need to rewatch that movie because it's good and I haven't seen it in a long time. Our friend Tom from Be Hero Fights, he says, I don't watch too many, but there are a couple I enjoy, and then lists 5.
More than I have.
Yeah, I don't have too many, but here's my giant list. He has Moonstruck, Nicolas Cage, and Cher, and for once they aren't annoying the hell out of me. It's a good one.
Those sound like two annoying people,
right?
That would not expect to be in a movie together. That's
exactly.
Interesting.
Bounty Hunter. I pretty much love everything with my buddy Gerard Butler, I'm assuming. And who can forget Jennifer Aniston? And I actually have seen this movie and it wasn't terrible. So I could get behind that. Couples Retreat, not your typical love story, but I find this movie hilarious and I still quote it to this day. Was that on your list, Nick? Because I believe Couples Retreat is an Adam Sandler movie. Let me double check before I put my foot in my mouth. Couples Retreat.
It was not on my list to answer your
It
question.
was not on your, and no, it was not Adam Sandler. It's Vince Vaughn, Rip, and Jason Bateman,
Dude,
and Jon Favreau.
Vince Vaughn movies, those are good romantic comedies just because of how bad they are.
Yeah, and you know what? Another guilty pleasure. I like Vince Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
Not in True Detective though. Pretty bad.
He was just Vince Vaughn in True Detective. It's just that second season was in good, period.
Yes, I just saw an article today that they just hired a writer for season 4.
I need to watch season 3.
Same. I have seen Couples Retreat, but it was not the movie I was thinking of. It is a good one though. Number 4, Warm Bodies. Another
Ding, ding, ding,
Zomcom
ding.
fan there. It was just better than it had any right to be, and had a nice twist to the classic ghoul zombie mythos, which 100% agree. So good.
I like that description. Better than it had any right to be.
So good, but it's so true, because that was one of the movies where, like I've said, multiple times, one of my favorite things to do with Becca was, go to the movies. That was like our go-to date night, pre-children, before we had to find and pay babysitters and all that stuff. Warm Bodies was one of those ones where it's like we tried to trade off picking movies, so like I could watch movies that I actually enjoyed, and then she could actually watch movies she enjoyed. And I think this one was one of those weird, like, middle grounds where it was like a love story, but it also had zombies. So I was like, all right, let's just go see this movie. And then it ended up exceeding expectations, and I actually really loved it. And then his number 5 pick, The Proposal. It's just a classic. Who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds?
That was good.
Hard to argue with that. Ryan Reynolds is great. And that's, on a lot of people's lists and a lot of people's favorites. And then we have a submission here from Rachel's Holiday from the Discord. She says, I've been thinking about this question and feel a little silly that nothing immediately came to mind. Don't feel bad. Maybe it's because you have better taste in movies than most people, and don't lower yourself into watching rom-coms like these animals do. You should be proud of yourself, Rachel. Hopefully you're listening to this. But she says, one I enjoy is 27 Dresses, possibly just because of the Benny and the Jets karaoke scene. I believe I have also seen this movie. Let me just look it up. I don't want to misspeak due to my wife's, uncontrollable love for rom-coms. Yes, I have seen this movie, and I know the scene you were talking about, and it was a good one. Good old Katherine Heigl. And then James Marsden. It's good movie, good cast.
I have not seen so many movies.
Yeah, no, it's really makes me wonder why we do this podcast together. Just kidding.
Maybe next year we'll pull in some guests for this episode.
We'll get some experts.
Yeah.
AKA Becca and Aaron.
We need help. We need help.
Yes. But hey, those are great submissions. Thank you guys so much for answering the boys in the Discord, which I guess now is as good a time as any to promote the Discord. It's free. All you got to do is click on the handy link in the episode description, or if you're currently watching our live stream, it is one of the top comments here in the comments section. You can go to linktr.ee/showboyspodcast, and our link is up there. If you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, the Discord link is in our bio. This is just a great place to come and interact with us and other listeners of the show. And every week, I throw a post in the Answer the Boys channel about the topic that we're going to talk about that week. And ask for, your guys' feedback, your list submission, your, opinions and viewpoints on whatever the topic is, and then we talk about it on the show. And it's fun. It helps us, think of things that we may not have thought about our topic, and it's always fun to hear from you guys and hear what you guys like, because like we said earlier, sometimes you guys talk about stuff that we haven't seen, and it just adds great things that we need to watch or play. So go join, become a member. I'm going to steal a line from our chief moderator. Come for the podcast, but you stay for the community.
Wow. That's
that
deep.
guy. That's
what a guy. Chief
Great
Mod,
guy.
shout out. I don't know
That's
his
right.
name, but his name's Chief Moderator.
Showboys number 04. My boy Ryan.
Darth Tiberius.
I don't think he would be a Sith. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. But yes, you can always chime in, in the Discord or on our social medias. We're at Showboys Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find all of our links to social media and our podcasting platforms on linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, the live stream or the video, that comes out on Monday, thank you so much. If you could, please subscribe if we've earned it. If you like what we talk about, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us grow, helps us get into the algorithm, and just lets us know that we're doing something that people find entertaining, and that warms our hearts, because we do this for you and each other, but mainly for you
and Mike's mental health
and my mental health and Becca's mental health, because if she had to hear me talk about like movies or shows or games any more than she already is subjected to, her head might explode.
Wow. So would you say a significant percentage of your need to discuss that kind of stuff has been siphoned away from random bystanders and your wife, and now it's channeled into this Thursday and Monday recordings?
Yep. It just goes straight into the internet, and rightfully so, nobody listens.
Did anyone ever really listen?
That's a great point. But at least in my heart, I felt like they had to, because they were standing right in front of me.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. I think this has been good for Becca, because she hasn't had to hear me ramble on about pointless theories on shows and
how good Scott Pilgrim is, and why Dad is the best franchise of all time.
Exactly. Nathan Barnett, if you're listening, I love you. Please come on my podcast, because I'd love to talk to you about Dad and all your short films. Anyways, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. You got anything else you want to say in closing here?
No, I don't. I think that I'm exhausted of all my rom-com points. I am not motivated to watch any rom-coms. Maybe a couple out of this. I'll rewatch this episode and pick a few out. I think there's some in here. If
there's only one, you should watch Warm Bodies.
I knew you were gonna say that.
It's a good one. It really is.
I think Tom sold me on the.
It was just better than it had any right to be.
Better than it had any right to be. That's how you convince me to watch something.
The best review of a movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. This movie has no right of being good, but it was good.
Yes. But yes, we kind of alluded to it earlier, but next week is going to be a very fun episode. My wife, Becca, will be joining us, and we are going to talk about our top 3 sitcoms. So I guess really it's our top 9, the Showboys top 9. But that should be really fun. We've all been on a giant sitcom bender lately, and I'm really excited about next week's episode. I got a lot to say, as usual. Hopefully it will be good stuff and not incoherent rambling.
We'll try.
No promises. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And
Cut
have a
it.
good
Cue the not music.
one. Yeah.